Welcome back to Shockwaves, the official after show for Stellar Shock. I'm Jess, here with Arthur, the guy who started all this mess. Arthur, how's it feel seeing your fictional village get put through a meat grinder in chapter 2?
Not great, Jess. Everybody keeps asking if I'll ever let these folks just have a normal day. Guess the answer's still no.
I finished chapter 2, half expecting something good to happen, and then you pile it on. Mud, blood, elders fighting, swords swinging. Did you ever think about just writing a farming memoir?
I grew up around real farmers. Nobody survives a season unscathed. Metaphorically or not, makes for honest fiction though. Messy, mean, real.
That's how it lands. The first thing that hit me before the basalt crew even show up was how Tuitoma feels. That village is just clinging on. You paint it with streaks of sweat and smoke, peeling everything down to what people can hold in their hands. The gate, the dogs, the kids running barefoot, all that. Was that world building, or did you just steal scenes from your childhood?
Little of both. I wanted Tuitoma to feel lived in and already under threat before the real danger shows. The idea is wherever you grow up, there's always a sense that something's coming for what you've built. Could be a river, a drought, or just the wrong neighbor.
It's the kids that get me. You've got Sir, Roland, Balu, Lavu, Viti, each with a home, a set of chipped routines, a reason for moving the way they do. Like that detail about garden fences and patched roofs lets you know these people fix what they have. Nobody's got anything new.
That's what survival looks like. No fairy tale cottages, just mud jammed in the cracks. The houses are patched, but you see the story in every patch. VT's roof leaks. Balu's dog is smarter than any of them. They're proud of things they shouldn't even need to be proud of.
There's this line, Tuitoma at this hour felt held in the palm of someone's hand. Too quiet, as though the village listened for a threat behind each bird call. That stuck. You do subtle threat well. Before basalt even says a word, people act like they're being watched.
Where I come from, we always listened for trouble we hoped wouldn't come. You sleep light that way. I wanted that sense, a world where even the quiet's dangerous. The village listens, and everyone's tuning in.
And the kids go right from talking about dogs to spying on the elders meeting. It's not innocence lost, but just routine. Like they know when to sneak and when to keep their heads down.
That's life. No kid in a real hard place stays innocent for long. You learn the rules, you break them in the right ways, and mostly you just try to keep out of the way. These kids know fear, and they know which adults to watch and which ones to avoid.
Ward Seraphine, let's talk about him for a second. Balding, scarred, voice that could stop a fight. The way you write Ward, you don't hide that he's rough with Sarah, or that he's respected because he's survived more than anyone else. Is he the heart of this book, or just another guy doing damage control?
Both. He'll never admit it, but he's a stand-in for every stubborn, broken leader who acts like survival is the only thing that matters. He's cruel when he thinks it's necessary, loving only in ways that make other people strong. Half the time, he's barely holding it together.
A flashback to Sarah's childhood. The meditation lesson turning into a beating, swords flying, real blood drawn. People will say that's child abuse, but you don't flinch from it. What's your goal with showing a guy like Ward, warts and all?
I'm not endorsing it. I just refuse to write soft, easy love into a place like Tuitoma. In some families, violence and teaching come bundled together, and scars get passed down like heirlooms. Ward wants Sir to be tough because he's afraid the world will chew him up otherwise. Doesn't excuse anything, just explains it.
The way you wrote that sparring scene, Ward's telling Sir, you're nothing, next breath he's tossing him a sword. Love is a fist in this house.
Word for word sometimes. Every hit's a message. That doesn't make it right, it just makes it true for these characters.
No judgment, but damn, there's a lot simmering. You also set up the black sword right from the start. It's this ugly, heavy thing. Sarah keeps seeing things in the blade, the woman's eyes moving, the etchings crawling, like it's as alive as any character.
I wanted a sword that wasn't a prize or a destiny. It's a burden, a warning, maybe a curse. Sir's drawn to it, but not because it promises greatness. He stares at it because it scares him, and because it links him to a family and a history that never brought him much good.
All right, but let me push you here. Is there magic in this story? Or is every supernatural thing in Sir's head?
Both. Some things run on ritual and story as much as on physics. The residents believe in Kanta, in elements, in Io. But when Sir thinks he sees the blade's face move, I won't say whether that's his head rattling from trauma or something older poking through. It's meant to be ambiguous, honest to how people really see miracles or horror in ordinary things.
The elders meeting, one of my favorites, where you've got Hodea, Oksok, Canulo all arguing about gods, war, whether to stand or run. The way you write it, everyone's scared, but nobody can admit to it. It feels very male, very old school. Fear comes out as yelling and table pounding.
I grew up watching men express everything except fear. They hit, they drink, they shout about someone else's mistakes, but never say, I'm scared. I wanted that energy in the hall. When Ward slaps the table and says, we'll see what story Navarra wants to tell, that's their whole fate. Fate gets the last line, not the council.
That foreshadows Basalt and his crew rolling up, right? So let's talk about that sequence. The boat flying a blood rag, the guy with the red sash asking for sons and blades. Is this your invasion or just the start of trouble for Tuitoma?
This is the fuse. I don't see Basalt as the villain. He's just the river delivering a new flood. Everyone in places like Tuitoma knows. You don't have to do anything wrong for trouble to arrive. Sometimes it just floats in on a boat.
You take your time with geography, by the way. There's the river, the brush, the angle of the sunlight, all so precise. You can feel the heat, the squelch of mud under boots. Are you sketching a map for us or just keeping yourself oriented?
If you can't feel the road under your character's feet, you don't know where they're going to run when trouble shows. Every direction matters. The jungle, the river, the line between safe and not. Readers need to feel the boundary, so when it gets crossed, you know it's being risked.
Let's pause for a second on the actual fight. I kept waiting for a heroic moment. Somebody shouts, the enemy flees, or maybe Sir grabs the black sword and saves the day. But it's messy, small, dangerous as hell, and you leave most outcomes ambiguous. Was that deliberate?
I hate clean fights in fiction. Real violence is confusion. People miss, slip, get scared, bleed in stupid ways. No glory. Each person's just trying to come out less broken than they went in. Nobody cheers at the end, not if you're honest.
Give me your take on Seer. He's our lens, right? But he never actually feels like a classic hero.
Sarah's just another scared kid, forced to act before he's ready. He's not brave, just cornered. That's true for everyone in Tuitoma. You don't get to choose your moments. Most times the moment chooses you, and you hope your feet move fast enough.
For all that, there are real moments of connection. Sir feeding Ward, scraping out the soup, steeling himself to stand in a fight. Even Balu and Lavu, they're crude as hell sometimes, but when the Basalt come, they're there for each other.
Survival makes a pack. You can hate the people around you all day, but when the wolves come, those are still your people. Doesn't mean you forgive or that the next day will be any softer. You just endure.
The end of the chapter, after all the chaos, there's this silence. No one cheers. Ward calls orders, but he looks half dead. And you focus on the aftermath, washing wounds, scrubbing blood from the ground, carrying the dead. You make us wait in the tension. Was that your instinct, or does it serve a bigger theme?
Both. I believe violence echoes. It doesn't just stop when the blade gets sheathed. The only victory is making it to tomorrow. Everybody's already calculating the next loss.
Is there hope, even a grain?
Hope is what you carry because you don't have a choice. Nobody in Tuitoma is under illusions, but they keep standing. Maybe that's resilience. Maybe it's just habit.
Okay, your habit of putting people through hell aside, what comes next for Sarah? Don't spoil, but can you tease?
Syrinx decides what he's willing to lose. Home, innocence, whatever's left after a night like that. He's not through the gauntlet, not by half.
That's grim, but fair. Arthur, before we dive further, audience Q&A, people want to know, does Tuitoma get rebuilt, or will you just keep burning it down chapter after chapter?
If the village burns, it's because someone lit the match. If it stands, it's because too many people refuse to leave. Both are honest outcomes. All right, whichever happens.
The most direct answer you've given, honestly.
Not in me to lie about these places.
Folks, send your questions anytime. We'll grill Arthur on every single detail he refuses to explain. But now, let's unpack a few standout details.
Shoot.
The animals. You use the black dog, the cats, the goats. Sometimes they notice trouble before people do. How intentional is that?
Animals always know. They move how the weather or the mood shifts. You see a dog acting strange. You know to look twice at the road. People ignore what their gut says. Dogs, cats, don't. In Tuitoma, even the animals are survivors.
Next up, this line, no trade, we take or you give. That's one hell of a threat. Any reason you made the basalt so direct?
So there's no room for negotiation or stories. That's how war enters, with blunt demands, no extra words, no bargaining. Makes the choice simple, not easy.
Did you always imagine basalt as an extension of the place, or as the start of something new, a change coming up the river?
Both, again, you can't separate the invader from the world he invades. Basalt wants to absorb Tuitoma the same way the jungle wants to take back cleared land. That's the natural order of things. Conflict, no matter how well you build your fences.
Let's talk mothers. There's a lot of focus on men fighting, boys picking up swords, but there are mothers here. Roland's mom, Baloo's, Lavu's, calling out to their kids, fixing wounds, cooking even while the village is under siege. What made you lean into that?
Every hard place I ever survived, the women held it up. Might be behind doors, but they keep the place stitched together. Feed you, drag you out of bed, pat you up when you fall. The story focuses on the kids and fighters, but the real backbone is always the ones sewing, scraping, whispering orders behind the curtain.
Comes through in their actions. No melodrama, just hands moving to save what's left.
Don't need speeches to do hard work.
Which brings me to the way you treat wounds. Nobody gets the hero's recovery here. There's blood, busted bones, infections, waiting. Sir's cut rib, Lavu's leg, VT's nose, grown men dropping from a hit to the knee. This isn't fantasy violence. It's like a blueprint for the hardest side of survival.
If you're going to throw a knife, it'll land somewhere soft, bones break easy, blood shows up in places you wish it didn't. Nobody shrugs off a blow. Pain lingers, bodies limp. To ignore that is to write a lie.
And even the aftermath, you keep it close. People grumble, patch roofs, mend bodies, all in silence. Is there catharsis for you as the writer after these big, messy chapters?
If there is, I haven't found it. The work after the violence is heavier than before. Story only moves if you keep shoveling the dirt. I write the aftermath because that's all the reward the characters get.
There's a scene near the very end, Sir at the well with Ward, quiet, sharing a silence so wide you could drive a boat through it. What's that space mean for them?
Sometimes the most honest thing two people can do together is just endure the silence. No tidy hug, no nice talk, just sharing the burden and letting the quiet say what words can't.
All right, let's get maybe a bit lighter for a second. The food. You describe bread, beans, soup, dried fish, each meal barely filling. Even small details like Sarah tearing old bread, Viti flicking a fishbone. Why those choices?
Life in Tuitoma is hunger. Every meal is measured. You appreciate survival more when you fight for every bite. Plus, those little moments help readers feel the grind of living. Nothing polished, nothing wasted.
One audience email, why does nobody ever say thank you in Tuitoma?
You don't hear a lot of thank yous in places where survival's not guaranteed. Gratitude is in actions. If I haul you from a fight, I expect you to do the same next time. Say it with your hands, not your mouth.
So you're telling me if basalt comes knocking next week, you want your neighbors at your back rather than flowers on your doorstep?
Exactly. In a pinch, I'll take someone standing between me and danger over someone telling me I'm brave.
Did you plan out every elder's personality ahead of time? Or do they just start fighting as soon as the meeting starts?
I sketch the basics. Who's the loud one? Who's the peacemaker? Who gives in first? But once you put tired old men in a room with war on their doorstep, they tell you who they are with their voices, not with what's on the page.
It's clear who's who, and everyone's got an edge. Even if you never use adjectives outright, you don't need them. Someone's jaw or hands or voice tells the truth.
That's the goal. Show how they carry fear, not just say they're afraid.
Moving from elders back to kids, Viti, Lavu, Balu, Roland. Balu, in particular, big mouth, hot head, but backs it up in the fight. It reminds me of every kid in trouble, but with a core that never bends.
Everyone's got a balu. You need someone who'll swing first, even if it's dumb. Someone else judges, another hangs back. Every group works that way. In fights, you need the guy who'll pick up the heavy stone.
And then there's Roland, always at Sarah's heel, hands shaking, but still holding a blade when it's time. Is Roland more than a tag-along?
Roland's scared but stays close. Loyalty, not courage, gets him through a fight. If you write real people, the ones who struggle most are often the ones you want beside you. They never leave first.
You keep choices tight. When Ward tells everyone, you stay or you run, but make it now, you don't let anybody mull it over. Is that a ticking clock effect?
Exactly. Warlands don't give you days. When trouble comes, you scramble. To hesitate is a decision of its own. So Ward tells it straight. Draw the line today or risk it being drawn for you.
And by making Sir say, we stay, you have your protagonist babysit and his crew step up without any grand speeches or reward.
There's no glory in survival, just a reckoning with the fact that someone's got to take responsibility, even if it's a scared kid.
We're getting questions about the detail where Basalt tosses the red cloth. People assumed that's a recruitment sigil or a threat. Are the colors random, or is there a larger system?
Everything means something to somebody in these places. Red's the color of war, never of trade. It marks what you take by force. The villagers know red means trouble, so when Basalt chucks the cloth, he's not offering terms. He's laying out consequences.
Speaking of consequences, you avoid the good guy, bad guy trope. Even at their worst, the Basaltan elders have reasons. It's survival, resource, old grudges. Is that your worldview or just narrative device?
Both. War strips away morality. Everyone's afraid. Everyone's stuck making ugly choices. If you pick sides too quickly, you're lying to yourself.
When writing villagers post-battle, you skip speeches, celebrations, just pain, patchwork, kids poking at the bodies by the well. Why linger there and not move ahead?
Because that's where the truth is. All that noise about heroism fades. The only thing left is the work, digging holes, sewing skin, mending fences. Everything else is window dressing. You leave the reader in the aftershocks because that's where character gets built.
Another email. Does anyone remember the dead in Tuitoma? Or are burials just necessity?
They remember, but grief isn't loud. You show it by cleaning a wound, by carrying bodies with care, by doing what needs doing after. Stories come later, if at all.
Let's double back to the structure of the chapter. You don't end on a battle, just a return to grim, constant work. Tuitoma holds, Ward says, and that's it. Why end that way?
Success isn't dramatic. Staying alive means more chores, more nights with your ear to the earth. It's never final. I cut it where the grind resumes because that's how tomorrow starts.
That realism keeps things brutal, but true. Last audience message before we close this segment. Someone wants to know, was the Black Sword inspired by any legend?
It's a mix of things. Every town has a story about a blade that cut more than flesh, maybe a relic, maybe a rumor. I wanted a sword you'd rather drop than claim. One that never fits the hero, just burdens whoever has to carry it.
Arthur, we left off with Ward saying Tuitoma holds, but nobody's resting easy. I want to dive back into that. You don't call it a victory, even after the basalt retreat, and not a single character cracks a joke or acts relieved.
Nobody relaxes after a fight that close. Any storyteller who has folks laughing over their wounds right away hasn't been in a real scrape. You don't feel safe. You start looking for what's next to go wrong.
It's almost like grief is a muscle in your writing. People don't break down at funerals, they move bodies, mend houses, count heads. Is that deliberate?
That's tradition in a hard place. If you stop moving, you fall apart. Moving forward is survival. Cry on your own time after things stop burning. And for places like Tuitoma, things never stop burning long.
Speaking of burning, the fire, the barricades, the rain, it's all methodical. Buckets hauled, walls patched, graves dug, nothing flashy. And you keep returning us to the tactile, mud on fingers, knots in rope. Is it just texture, or are you keeping us from drifting into abstraction?
Both. If you're reading about a village fight, I want the rain in your shoes, a rope digging grooves in your palm. No hero's pose, just the grit between your teeth. If it hurts to read, you're doing it right.
And you use silence as a weapon. Nobody in Tuitoma wastes breath after the fight. Even the kids shut up. There's a bit where Sir helps drag the dead, says nothing for pages. What made you lean so hard on wordless recovery?
Words don't fix wounds, work does. The heavy lifting speaks louder than any, "Are you okay?" Especially for someone like Sir, who doesn't know how to talk about what he's seen. He does what needs doing because he's seen grown men do the same.
There's one repeated phrase, still here. Lavu says it, Sir echoes it, Balu spits it out. It's not hope. It's not pride. What is that in your mind?
To tally, just marking off the living, reminding each other they're not ghosts yet. Sometimes it's stubbornness, sometimes it's just habit. Say it enough, maybe you believe it.
One listener wrote in, it feels like your survival isn't just who holds a sword, but who hauls water after. Thoughts?
Dead right. The fight isn't over when the blade drops. It's won by whoever picks up the bucket, stitches a cut, dares to sleep with one eye open. Survival's everyday work, not a ceremony.
I see that in Ward too. He's always moving, never sits when he doesn't have to. The detail of him wrapping the black sword, always keeping it close, not letting anyone, especially Cersei, touch it. There's a history there. Are you saving a reveal, or is the weight of the sword the point?
The burden matters more than the answer. Ward's always been defined by what he carries. The sword proves it, keeps him sharp, keeps him tired. Part of him wants to keep it away from Sir, not out of love, but out of fear.
The moment I noticed the switch was in the rain, the attack at night. You move fast. There's no order, just chaos. Was it hard to keep track of everyone in that storm?
The trick is to follow bodies, not names. I tracked where each person was by what they do in a fight. Balu on the fences, Lavu running with a broken spear, Sir losing his grip, then picking up a rock. Rain makes it all worse. Mud, pain, fatigue. You follow the noise, the fear, the pain. You don't zoom out. You stick to the boys, to Ward, to the shape of the blade.
Let's go microscopic for a minute. Sarah's wound, just a cut. Not life-threatening, but you don't write it as a badge. It leaks, stings, slows him. There's never the "I'm fine" moment.
You go through it, you don't wave it off. Every problem you ignore is another thing waiting to trip you later. In a fight, your arm goes numb, your ribs burn. You start limping without noticing. If the reader walks away feeling like they've got a limp too, that's the goal.
What about the kids after the rain ends? Some are patching mud, others poke at the basalt dead. It's disturbing but honest. What's the thinking there?
Kids don't know what to do with horror. Some get curious, some hide, some pretend it's just another dead thing on the riverbank. They process loss differently. If the grown-ups don't let them in on the pain, they find their own way through or around it.
You spend a lot of time describing the smallest routines, rebuilding fences, redistributing weapons, divvying up food. Is this your version of aftercare for the reader? Or just what those characters know?
It's what they know. The only reward for survival is more work. All the routines are a safety net. They distract, they heal, they keep you upright. For characters and readers both, it's the closest you get to rest.
Fast forward to the public meeting at the well. No speeches, no arguing, just Ward with his battered face and bloody sword saying, "It's done. Today we dig, tonight we watch, tomorrow we'll see." What's your intent leaving it there? Nobody cheers, nobody weeps.
Grief in these places is private, not public. Tomorrow we'll see is as much hope as anyone gets. You survive one day, you don't promise another. To do otherwise is a lie.
There's a good enough feeling. No victory lap, just dragged bodies and patched wounds. Do you ever worry it's too bleak?
Bleak is the baseline where I grew up. Any sweetness feels earned if it bleeds a little. The people who live like this, like Sarah, Ward, Roland, they find joy in smaller things, but never in triumph over someone else's loss.
The last third of this chapter is just the work. Hauling mud, sewing up cuts, eating whatever's left. Then you describe the night. Sir crawled beneath his blanket, shut his eyes, and waited for dreams darker than any jungle night. You're showing us, not telling us, just like the rest.
Every nightmare grows out of what's left unfinished. Seer won't wake up better for having survived. He wakes up hurt, scared, older by years.
Let's shift. Minor characters. Okzuk, Hodea, Kanuo. Every one of them takes a beating, swings hard, argues even harder. What do you like about writing the council?
Old men who never stopped fighting. Each one stood for something once, now stands for whatever's left. They argue to cover up for fear, for losses, for regret they'll never name. It's the only way they know to show love, to keep the argument running.
Listeners want more about the women too. Lavu's mother, Roland's. We only see them through small gestures, but they shoot through the chapter as strong and quiet. Will they get more to do later, or are they the village's silent backbone?
Both. In Tuitoma, women run the long war, patching, planning, keeping the next generation planted. I didn't want to spotlight them with speeches. They're the reason the place holds. Their wounds cut deeper because nobody sees all they carry.
There's a passage where Balu curses, and you write, "He might as well dig his own grave. Is he hopeless?"
He's angry. For some, hopelessness is a slow leak. For Balu, it's a fight with every step. He'll go down clawing. He talks like he's done, but he always shows up for the next job. Sometimes, that's how you endure.
The threat, the violence, it's never romantic. Even the best fighters are just working through the crisis. No chosen one speeches or sudden mastery.
Nobody wins because they're the best. They win because they hurt less or are scared a little longer. I'll never write glamour into blood.
Okay, let's circle back. The black sword, the fighting, tying wounds, dragging bodies. Still you end on a village that keeps going. People want to know, will Tuitoma become a legend or will it vanish like the other burned out villages in this world?
Legends don't feed you, don't keep you warm. Tuitoma only exists as long as people choose not to leave. If it turns into a ghost town, it'll be because nobody could remember how to fix a roof. If it survives, it's because every wound gets patched one more time, then it's torn open.
Listeners, you heard it. Arthur keeps this village running the same way war does, out of stubbornness, spite, or maybe necessity.
There's no other way.
Got some more audience questions here. One person asks, was the rain a metaphor for cleansing or just rotten luck?
Is rotten luck. Might clean the blood off the dirt, but it never washes away the loss. The rain is a problem to solve, same as any other.
Another, are the boys closer after the fight or cracks forming?
Both. Fighting side by side forges bonds. The cracks run deeper, too. Fear lingers, trust gets bruised, some wounds you can't see. Not all friendships survive after a fight, but for a while you only lean harder.
There's a tiny moment, VT patching his own roof with his shirt. Is that you, or did someone you know actually do that?
Both. Again, I've used my own clothes to plug leaks. Most people have when there's nothing else better. You do what works.
Okay, let's talk pacing. The chapter moves slow and detailed, then sprints when the fight hits, falls back into slow again. Do you plot that rhythm, or does it come natural as you write?
You feel it, like a heartbeat. Tension winds up, you let it snap, then breathe out with the work that follows. If all you get is action, you lose the weight. If you never let up, the fight means less. I write the slowness as hard as the chaos.
Is there a road back from trauma in a world like this, or is every chapter just a step further away from peace?
Recovery's a slow crawl, and not everybody makes it. Most just break a little more with each day. Peace isn't promised here, maybe not ever.
How much does place matter to you? Could this story happen anywhere, or does it need this dirt, these dogs, this river?
Place is everything. The river, the mud, the dogs, they define Tuitoma. You take them away, you've got a different village. The story's not portable.
Mm-hmm. All right, quick fire round. Favorite character to write this chapter?
Word. Brutal old men are good company.
Most surprising moment as you drafted?
Blue dragging a man off the fence and Lava with the broken spear. Happens when you let them get desperate. Characters do what they need.
If you could change one scene, what would it be?
I'd add more of VT. He gets lost behind the others, but he's got coat hanger bones. He bends but doesn't break.
What's going to hurt the most in the next chapter?
The waiting. What comes after is always worse when you know it's coming and can't move.
Listeners, that's the most warning we're going to get. All right, let's each pick a standout image or line before we wrap?
The moment where Ser touches the black sword and his skin hums, he pulls back before he loses himself. That's the core of the book, getting close to danger, not quite giving in.
I picked the still here mantra. It's not courage, but it gets everyone through the next morning.
Still here is the best anyone can do some days.
Audience, if we didn't hit your question, send it again. Next week, we'll pull apart what happens to a community after a night like that. Arthur, closing advice for those who want to write realism with this much bite?
Don't soften the blow. Trust your world more than your wish for a happy ending. Let your characters be petty, scared, proud, tired. Let nothing come easy.
All right, folks. This was Shockwaves, breaking down chapter 2 of Stellar Shock. Subscribe, send your theories and gripes. We'll be digging out the splinters next week. Same time, same smoke-soaked corners. Thanks for listening.
Good night, and keep the fire small.
Thank you for listening to Shockwaves, the Stellar Shock Aftershow podcast. If you're enjoying the pod and wish to support us further, please consider joining our Patreon community at patreon.com/vertical. That's patreon.com/verticle. This episode of Shockwaves is a production of Vertical Media LLC, all rights reserved. Produced and edited by our talented team, the fabulous theme music was created exclusively for Shockwaves and is used with permission.